It's never been easier to look spiritual. Post the verse, share the worship clip, comment thoughts and prayers with little hand emojis, and boom, instant saint. You ever hear a prayer request that's basically gossip wearing a church hat? Absolutely. Church and prayer matter, but our character matters more. James says if we can't keep a tight rein on our words, our religious, we are. James says, James says if we can't keep a tight rein on our words, our religion is empty. Ouch. And then shows us what a real demonstration of our faith should look like.
Got it. Man, James doesn't pull any punches, does he?
Nope, he does not.
So we're talking about James 1, verses 26 and 27. And this is what he's really saying here. He says, if anyone thinks himself to be religious, yet does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this person's religion is worthless. Pure and undefiled religion in the sight of our God and Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep one's self unstained by the world.
And that
last verse.
That sounds like a command, doesn't it? That sounds like.
Yeah, it sounds like we're supposed to go visit orphans and widows, and that's how we keep ourselves undefiled. That's how we keep ourselves from being religious.
That's not what he means.
Not what he means. What he's saying is that's just a demonstration. Like one of the, and I found this on a website, somebody else's website, kind of talking about verse 27, or James 1 verse 27, and said that it's not a command, that it's a demonstration. And a quote from that website says, one of the purest and most undefiled demonstrations of the gospel is to move towards hard places and broken people, not away from them. And so when we think about orphans and widows, those are broken people.
Those are broken people.
We need to be moving towards them. So, but he's not. But I don't think James is confining us to just widows and orphans. Like, if you do that, you're good. And I think he's using that as an example of, like, go spend time and go take care of people that need help.
Right. The problem that we're kind of looking at here is that a talkie faith that sounds spiritual but doesn't show up in speech, mercy, or holiness. I mean, we can be active in church. We can be loud online, and we don't need anybody else to be loud online. But we could be loud online, and we could be careless with our words, and we could be selective with compassion. Ooh, and I don't know that God tells us to be selective. You know, this widow and not that one type of a thing because of personal biases, really.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and so this whole idea of, like, just being religious, because, you know, we talked about that in last podcast. Like, well, I've heard all the words, so now I can now say the words, and it makes me sound like I'm really spiritual and all of that. But that doesn't really matter as much as we need to be able to go out there and be doing some stuff. And James gives us that example. And then, but also the idea of, like, I got to be careful with what I say with my mouth, right? Is like, when I'm upset, or I'm hanging around people who aren't religious, do I allow that to kind of influence how I speak and things like that? So we gotta make sure that, you know, we keep a rein on our tongue, as James says.
Yeah, and that is hard. I mean, let's be honest, it's hard. It may sound quick and easy, you know, but in this day and age, we can get riled up so easily, especially online, which I'm just steering myself away from as best I can. I've stopped trying to comment, because I know it's just going to fall on it's just going to be more chatter it just
becomes noise.
Yeah, and people want to look religious, but then by doing so, sometimes the people around them are bruised by it. And maybe rightly so, but most of the time, no, you're just trying to sound religious, and you really don't.
Well, you kind of said this right in the intro, right? Like, somebody will bring up a prayer request, but it's just almost an opportunity to expose somebody else's hardship.
Yeah.
you know. And so are they bringing up a prayer request because it's truly a prayer request for this person, or is it just an opportunity to kind of show like, well, poor Bill, bless his heart, but I'm praying for him, you know, letting me to be the hero, so to speak, of that because of look how religious
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
I'm praying for Bill and
Yes.
his hardships.
Yeah. I really need to pray for Betsy. I know she's probably going through a hard time in her marriage because I saw her at lunch the other day with her boss, and they looked a little cozy. And Lord, she really needs your help and your prayers right now.
Yep, yep.
And that's not when you're praying alone. That's when you're praying with a group,
With a group,
let
exactly.
letting the whole world know.
Which
So,
is basically nothing more than just spreading rumors, gossiping,
yep.
which I think somewhere in the Bible tells us not to gossip. I'm not sure. It seems like that's something that's there.
I'm pretty
Um,
more than once.
but so this idea like we have to keep a rein on our teeth. So we need to like how do I audit my speech and knowing that my mouth is not just expressing my heart, it's actually exposing it
Yeah,
sometimes.
what is that? What is that statement? Be sure your brain is engaged before you put your mouth in gear.
Something like that.
And
Yep.
we could even take that a little better. Say, make sure your heart is engaged before
Mm,
putting your
yeah.
your mouth in gear. So
Thank you. Yeah.
keep your
I think that's very true.
yeah. So I mean, we're looking at a few things, and we're already talking about the first one: audit your speech, keep a tight
Yep.
rein on your tongue, and the second one is serve somebody who can't pay you back.
So James says, look after the orphans and the widows, right? And especially in their distress. So it's not limiting it to just the orphans and widows, but go find someone that you could do something for.
Right? Is it safe to say that if you're both an orphan and a widow, you get a double blessing from other people?
Yes, I think it's exactly what that's saying.
No, that's that's just no. Anyway, uh, just to wrap it up, the payoff is real simple. God doesn't grade your faith by how religious you sound. He reveals it by how you treat others, how you treat them when you're irritated, and what you refuse to normalize. Now, let that sink in. There's a whole lot of sin in the world right now that is being normalized.
Hmm.
And we
We could
should,
probably do a whole series of podcasts just on what has society normalized in the last few years that just even a few years before that was just a flat out wrong and sinful.
yeah, and even, I mean, modern society would say 20 years ago that some things are absolutely flat out wrong, stupid,
Yep.
wrong, even sinful, they'd say. And today, it's normalized. It's a part of society, not as far as God is concerned. And our point, what God really wants from us, is to follow Christ. And Christ loved people, but he never normalized sin, and
Nope.
he never will. A real life in Christ has fingerprints, and I want to show the fingerprints of Christ in my life, and I know you do too.
Yeah. So with those fingerprints end up kind of looking like how well do we restrain our speech? How well do we give sacrificial mercy in helping others and taking care of others when they need it, without making ourselves look religious and calling out our act? And then just that visible distinctiveness, like we are just different than
Yeah,
other people
yeah. You want people to
or
look
the
at
non not other people, other
yeah,
believers. They're non-believers.
yeah. You want people to look at you and say, "Man, there's something different about him," and I want to know why.
Yeah.
Let
Yep.
yeah.
There's a little plaque up in our church that says, um, "Live your life in a way that people who know you but don't know Christ will come to know Christ because they know you."
Ooh,
It's good stuff right there.
yeah,
That probably is a good place to wrap this up.
yeah. I'm going to put that on my wall.
That'll preach, as they say.
that'll that'll preach. That'll
All
preach.
right.
Okay, guard your
That's
mouth.
Bill.
Guard your mouth. Guard your tongue. That's Jamie.